We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Foundations. Major Wyatt Delaney stared at the ancient oak that had witnessed 15 years of his marriage to Melissa. Their sprawling Virginia home, purchased with his combat pay and legal bonuses, stood as testament to sacrifices made across 3 continents. At 42, the lines around his eyes weren't just from squinting at legal briefs, but from watching friends die in Afghanistan before he transferred to JAG Corps. "Dad, did you see the new throwing knife I got?" 10-year-old Liam bounded across the lawn, gangly limbs full of enthusiasm. "Grandpa says I'm a natural." Wyatt smiled, ruffling his son's sandy hair. "Let's see what you've got, soldier." His father, retired Colonel Howard Delaney, hobbled over on his prosthetic leg. "The boy's got your eye." 3 generations of military men stood beneath Virginia's sunshine, the youngest unaware his world was fracturing. Wyatt's phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "Working late again. Don't wait up." Her 4th late night, that week at the architectural firm where she'd recently made partner. Pride in her accomplishments battled with the hollowness spreading through their marriage. They'd weathered his 3 deployments, but now, during peacetime, they were losing each other. "Dad, watch this." Liam's knife struck dead center of the target. "That's my grandson." Howard beamed. Wyatt's mind flashed to childhood memories of his own father returning from Desert Storm. How his mother Patricia had held their family together during deployments. The Delaney men served. The Delaney women endured. Or they used to. Later that evening, after Liam was asleep, Wyatt poured bourbon for himself and his father on the back porch. "Something's wrong with Melissa," Howard stated flatly. Patricia could smell another woman from 50 miles. "I can smell another man." Wyatt swirled his drink. "She's working hard for that partnership. I'm proud of her." "Son, I've seen that look before." Marines coming back from patrol, saying everything's fine when they're bleeding internally. Howard wasn't wrong. For months, Melissa's kisses had grown perfunctory. Their conversations, once flowing like the Potomac, had dried to logistical exchanges about Liam's schedule. Their bedroom had become a demilitarized zone. "I've tried talking," Wyatt admitted. "She says I'm paranoid from too many interrogations." Howard leaned forward. "Your grandfather caught a Nazi spy by watching his eyes, not listening to his words. Watch her eyes, son." The following morning, Wyatt found Melissa preparing for work in a dress he'd never seen. Crimson silk that hugged curves rediscovered at her CrossFit classes. "New dress?" he asked casually. "Client meeting." She applied lipstick without meeting his eyes. "The Monroe Project?" A flicker of hesitation. "Yes, the Monroe Project." She checked her phone, angling it away from him. "I'll be late again. Davis wants the whole team for dinner." Davis Palmer, her boss, 50-something, divorced, with a sailboat named Closing Arguments despite never practicing law. That afternoon, Wyatt canceled his meetings and drove past Palmer Architecture. Melissa's car wasn't there. On impulse, he drove to the marina where Palmer kept his boat. Her Audi gleamed in the afternoon sun, parked beside Davis's Range Rover. Military training kept him from confronting them immediately. Strategic advantage required intelligence gathering. He drove to his mother's house instead. Patricia Delaney, 70 and sharp as tactical wire, listened without interruption as he laid out the evidence. "What will you do?" she finally asked. "I don't know." "Yes, you do." Her eyes, Delaney blue like his own, hardened. "Your grandfather hunted Nazis. Your father hunted insurgents. You hunt truth. It's what Delaney men do. And if the truth destroys us, the truth is already loose, son. The only question is whether you're controlling it or it's controlling you." On his way home, Wyatt's phone rang. His oldest friend, Noah Baldwin, now deputy chief of police. "Hey, brother, you still coming to the barbecue Sunday? Wouldn't miss it." "Melissa coming?" Sandy's been asking. Wyatt hesitated. "Not sure. Work's been demanding." Noah's voice shifted. "Everything okay?" "Just the usual." Wyatt paused. "Actually, need a favor. Can you run plates occasionally?" "Off the record." The silence spoke volumes. "This about Melissa? Just gathering intelligence." Christ, Wyatt. No aside. I've known you since basic. I've never heard you talk about your marriage like a military operation. Maybe I should have. That night, Melissa returned at 11, smelling of salt air and expensive cologne. She showered before joining him in bed, maintaining the careful distance that had become their norm. "How was the meeting?" he asked into the darkness. "Productive." Her voice betrayed nothing. Years of architecture presentations had given her a professional polish that now served a different purpose. "And dinner?" "Fine." She rolled away. "I'm exhausted, Wyatt." "So am I," he thought, staring at the ceiling. "So am I." In the morning, Liam asked innocently at breakfast, "Mom, can I use your iPad for research?" "Mine's charging." "Sure, honey." She slid it across the counter, distracted by emails. Later, helping Liam with his homework, Wyatt noticed a text notification pop up on the borrowed iPad. "Last night was incredible. Can't wait until he deploys again. You're finally going to be free." The sender, Davis Palmer. Wyatt's military discipline prevented his expression from changing as magma flowed through his veins. His son, engrossed in fractions, didn't notice his father's knuckles whitening around his coffee mug. 15 years of marriage, 10 years of fatherhood, 7 deployments where he'd survived by thinking of them. And now, watching Liam's innocent concentration, Wyatt made a silent vow. This was war, but unlike his overseas battles, this one he wouldn't lose. Chapter 2. Infiltration. Confirmation arrived like a reconnaissance report, irrefutable and devastating. The text on Melissa's iPad burned into Wyatt's consciousness. "Last night was incredible. Can't wait until he deploys again. You're finally going to be free." Training kicked in. First rule of intelligence: verify. Second rule: maintain operational security. "Dad, I don't get this problem," Liam complained. "Let me see." Wyatt maintained his composure, helping his son while calculating moves in a battle his family didn't know had begun. That evening, Wyatt volunteered to pick up dinner. Instead, he drove to his JAG office, accessing military systems that track deployments. Sure enough, his unit was on the short list for a 6-month stint in the Philippines. Classified information he hadn't shared with Melissa. Palmer had inside information. The question was how. The next morning, Wyatt called his commanding officer, Colonel Regina Vance. "Delaney, what's so urgent?" "Ma'am, has there been any unofficial inquiries about our deployment schedule?" "Funny you should ask. Congressman Tillman's office called last week. Something about community impact planning." Tillman, Palmer's college roommate, according to the firm's website. The connection crystallized like frost on a window. "Why the interest, Major?" Vance probed. "Just preparing my family, ma'am. My son's taking it hard." After hanging up, Wyatt sent a text to Noah. "Need phone records." Unofficial. "I'll explain Sunday." Noah replied, "Better be worth my badge, brother." At dinner, Wyatt studied Melissa across the table. Her auburn hair caught kitchen light like the Kuwaiti sunset during his first deployment, when her daily letters had kept him sane. Now, her eyes checked her phone beneath the table, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "Any plans this weekend?" he asked casually. "The Monroe Project deadline. I'll be at the office most of Saturday." The lie slid effortlessly from lips he'd once trusted with his life. "I'll take Liam fishing then. Dad's been wanting to get out on the lake." Relief flickered across her face. He'd love that. That night, Wyatt waited until Melissa's breathing deepened in sleep before carefully extracting her phone. Her password, Liam's birthday, granted access to a digital Pandora's box. The messages between her and Palmer painted an 18-month affair conducted. Worse were messages to a private investigator about Wyatt's finances, retirement benefits, and custody laws in Virginia. She's building a case, he realized, not just for divorce, but to take everything, including Liam. Saturday morning, Wyatt and Liam picked up Howard for their fishing trip. "We're not really fishing, are we?" Howard asked once Liam was occupied with his video game in the back seat. "No, sir. We're conducting surveillance." Howard's weathered face broke into a grim smile. "About damn time." They parked near the marina, positioning themselves with clear sight lines to Palmer's boat. By 10 a.m., Melissa's Audi pulled in. She emerged looking nothing like an architect heading to the office, flowing sundress, wide-brimmed hat, oversized bag. That's Mom's car, Liam noted, glancing up momentarily. Is she coming fishing too? No, son. She must be meeting a client nearby, Wyatt answered smoothly. How about we get breakfast first? The fish aren't biting yet. At the waterfront cafe, they sat on the patio with perfect views of the dock. Howard kept Liam distracted with stories, while Wyatt documented Melissa boarding Palmer's boat with his phone camera. Grandpa, did you and Dad ever fish here before? Many times. Your father caught his first striper right off that pier when he was about your age. The fabricated memory created cover for their surveillance, a tactic Wyatt had learned in counterintelligence training. Create plausible presence. Establish routine. Observe without being observed. By afternoon, they'd given up on fishing and were headed home when Noah called. Pulled those records. There's more. Much more. Sunday. That night, Melissa returned sunburned and relaxed, claiming exhaustion from drafting all day. She retreated to shower immediately. Wyatt used the opportunity to clone her laptop using JAG-issued forensic software. Technically legal for personal use, but this was no longer personal. This was survival. Sunday at Noah's barbecue. Melissa begged off, citing work again. Noah led Wyatt to his garage workshop, closing the door behind them. You sure you want to see this? Noah spread a file on his workbench. Once you do, there's no going back. I'm already past that point. The file contained phone records, financial transactions, and surveillance photos of Melissa and Palmer together dating back nearly 2 years. But what turned Wyatt's blood to ice were printouts of emails discussing his classified deployment schedule and legal strategies for maximizing her divorce settlement. There's more, Noah said grimly. Palmer's got connections to Judge Franklin Morrison, my potential divorce judge. Wyatt's jaw tightened. They're planning everything. It gets worse. Palmer's ex-wife Diane reached out when she heard I was asking questions. Says he has a pattern, pursues married women, helps them clean out their husbands, then moves on once the money's secured. She got the same treatment from his previous affair. Wyatt stared at the evidence. How did you find her? Police work isn't all traffic stops and donuts. Noah's attempt to humor fell flat. What's your play here, Wyatt? Standard divorce? Because with Morrison possibly in their pocket. No. Wyatt's voice turned to steel. This isn't about divorce anymore. This is about justice. Be careful with that word. My badge can't protect vigilante justice. I'm not talking vigilante. I'm talking strategy. Wyatt gathered the files. They're planning to use my deployment to execute their plan. So I'll give them exactly what they want. An absent husband. You're not making sense. I'm requesting temporary reassignment to the Pentagon's Special Investigations Unit. Officially deployed, actually 20 minutes away. Let them think I'm gone. And then, Wyatt's smile would have chilled battlefield enemies. Then I become the hunter instead of the hunted. Driving home, Wyatt called his father. I need Mom's guest room for a while. She'll have it ready. What's the play? First, I disappear. Then I dig. Palmer's got skeletons. Men like him always do. Howard's voice held grim approval. The first rule of warfare is knowing your enemy better than they know themselves, Wyatt finished. At home, Melissa was working on her laptop in the kitchen, startling slightly when he entered. How was Noah's? She asked with practiced casualness. Good. Sandy missed you. He paused deliberately. I got some news at the barbecue. That deployment? It's happening sooner than expected. I leave next week. He watched carefully as multiple emotions crossed her face before settling on concerned disappointment. An Oscar-worthy performance. Oh, Wyatt. How long? 6 months minimum. Maybe longer. She stood, embracing him with false comfort. We'll get through it. We always do. Over her shoulder, Wyatt allowed himself one cold smile. Yes, we will. But not in the way you're planning. Later that night, as Melissa slept, Wyatt opened a secure email account and sent messages to 5 fellow JAG officers he trusted implicitly. The subject line, Operation Homefront. The infiltration was complete. Now began the counterattack. Chapter 3, Reconnaissance. The deployment paperwork arrived with official Pentagon seals, routing Wyatt to the classified Special Investigations Unit. His commanding officer, Colonel Vance, raised an eyebrow during their private meeting. This is unusual, Major. Pentagon assignments typically go to officers not on deployment rosters. That's why I need operational security, ma'am. My cover needs to be airtight. Vance studied him. 25 years of military service had honed her ability to detect half-truths. This is personal, isn't it? Wyatt maintained parade rest. Permission to speak freely, Colonel. Granted. My family's security has been compromised. I need resources to assess and neutralize the threat. Domestic threats fall under civilian jurisdiction, Major. Not when they involve classified deployment information being leaked to civilians with questionable motives. Vance's expression hardened. Explain. 30 minutes later, she closed the folder containing evidence of the information breach. You understand using military resources for personal vendettas is grounds for court-martial. Yes, ma'am. You also understand that unauthorized access to classified deployment schedules represents a security breach that falls squarely within JAG jurisdiction. A glimmer of hope. Yes, ma'am. Then consider yourself temporarily assigned to internal counterintelligence. Your deployment status remains active, classified location. No one outside this room knows you're stateside. She fixed him with a stern gaze. Major Delaney, find the leak and plug it. Whatever personal satisfaction you derive is irrelevant to me. Understood, Colonel. The following weekend, Wyatt staged his deployment departure. Melissa drove him to the base, Liam sullen in the back seat. 6 months, she sighed, embracing him at the checkpoint. We'll miss you. He held her tightly, inhaling her perfume. I'll miss you too. For a moment, remembering their early years, the pain was genuine. Dad, don't go. Liam clung to him, tears streaking his freckled face. Kneeling, Wyatt held his son. I need you to be strong, buddy. Take care of Mom. I'll call whenever I can. As their car pulled away, Wyatt shouldered his duffel and passed through security. 2 hours later, in civilian clothes, he exited through the supply entrance where Noah waited in an unmarked police car. Operation Ghost is a go, Noah said as Wyatt climbed in. Let's hope it works. Your mom's got the surveillance equipment set up. Howard's been like a kid at Christmas. Patricia Delaney had indeed transformed her guest bedroom into an intelligence center that would impress CIA analysts. 3 monitors displayed camera feeds from the Delaney home. Living room, kitchen, master bedroom. Installed during Melissa's Saturday work meeting. Mom, this is necessary, she finished firmly. That woman is not taking my grandson or my son's dignity. Howard sat monitoring the feeds. Nothing yet. She's making dinner for Liam. Wyatt's chest tightened seeing his son setting the table, his small shoulders bearing the weight of his father's deployment. The team Wyatt had assembled via secure email arrived the following day. Fellow JAG officers with specialized skills. Major Diana Reeves, cybercrimes specialist. Captain Luis Ortega, financial investigator. Lieutenant Commander Sophia Winters, behavioral psychologist. And Captain Benjamin Hayes, former Special Forces before law school. This is highly irregular, Diana noted as they gathered in Patricia's dining room. Potentially career-ending, Luis added. Definitely necessary, Ben countered. JAG Corps protects its own. Sophia studied the evidence wall Wyatt had constructed. Classic predatory behavior from Palmer. He's targeted military families before. 3 that we've identified, Wyatt confirmed. All officers with deployment schedules. All wives who gained full custody and significant financial settlements. The judge connection is concerning, Diana noted. Morrison has ruled on military divorce cases before. 14 in the past decade. 13 favored the civilian spouse, with average settlements 40% above state guidelines. Luis whistled. That's not coincidence. Your wife isn't just having an affair, Sophia concluded. She's being coached through a systematic extraction of your assets and parental rights. The word stung, but Wyatt maintained composure. Exactly, which is why we're treating this as a counterintelligence operation, not a domestic dispute. For the next 3 days, the team established round-the-clock surveillance. They documented Palmer visiting the Delaney home the very night after Wyatt's deployment, staying until morning. They tracked financial movements as Melissa transferred savings to new accounts. They recorded phone conversations with her lawyer discussing custody strategies. On day 4, the first breakthrough came when Diana cracked Palmer's encrypted email. "Pay dirt," she announced. Correspondence with Judge Morrison dating back 3 years. They're not just acquaintances, they're business partners in a shell company that owns rental properties. Properties purchased with what funds? Luis wondered, diving into financial records. By day 7, they had reconstructed the scheme. Palmer identified military officers with significant assets facing deployment. He began affairs with their wives, introducing them to his attorney, who specialized in military divorces. Cases were steered to Morrison, who consistently ruled for maximum settlements. Palmer then helped manage the newly single women's finances through investment in his real estate ventures, skimming substantial fees. "It's elegant," Luis admitted reluctantly. "Predatory, but legal. Except for the classified deployment information," Wyatt finished. "That's our leverage point." Ben leaned forward. "We still don't know the source." "I have a theory," Wyatt said, pulling up communication records. Congressman Tillman's military liaison, Veronica Slater, former military spouse herself, divorced 3 years ago with a settlement that exceeds her congressional salary by a factor of 10. And the judge was... Diana prompted. Morrison, Wyatt confirmed. "I think we've found our leak." The next day brought confirmation when Sophia and Luis tailed Slater to lunch with Palmer and Morrison at an exclusive Georgetown restaurant. "The triumvirate," Sophia reported, sending discreet photos to the team chat. That night, as Wyatt watched the camera feed of Palmer and Melissa in his home, his bedroom, his anger crystallized into cold determination. On screen, Melissa reached for a bedside drawer, his drawer, removing papers. Well, Patricia murmured, watching over his shoulder. "Looks like she's sharing your financial documents." Indeed, Palmer was photographing military benefit statements, retirement accounts, and property deeds. Howard's weathered hand gripped Wyatt's shoulder. "Now we have them, son." "No," Wyatt corrected, eyes never leaving the monitor. "Now we build the trap." The following morning, Wyatt called Colonel Vance, requesting a secure meeting. Within hours, military police and FBI agents were being quietly briefed. "This operation has officially transitioned from personal to professional," Vance told the assembled team. "The breach of classified deployment schedules alone justifies intervention. The financial conspiracy is icing." "Ma'am," Wyatt interjected, "I request primary operational control. These individuals targeted my family specifically." Vance considered, then nodded curtly. "Approved, Major. But remember, this is about justice, not revenge." Wyatt's smile didn't reach his eyes. "In this case, Colonel, they're the same thing." As the team dispersed to finalize preparations, Noah pulled Wyatt aside. "You good, brother? You've got that 1,000-yard stare." Wyatt watched the surveillance feed, where Melissa was helping Liam with homework, the picture of devoted motherhood playing for an audience of one. "I'm focused," he replied evenly. "That's what worries me. I've seen that look before, Fallujah, when Jenkins lost his squad. He was focused too, right until he walked into that enemy position alone. The difference is, I'm not walking in alone." Wyatt turned to his friend. "And I'm not planning to die. Just the opposite." Later, reviewing operation plans with his team, Wyatt received a video call from Liam. "Dad, when are you coming home? Mom's friend, Mr. Palmer, says we might move to his beach house after." He trailed off, looking guilty. "After what, buddy?" "Nothing. Mom says I'm not supposed to talk about grown-up stuff." Wyatt maintained a neutral expression despite the rage boiling beneath. "I'll be home before you know it. I promise." After the call, Ben found Wyatt staring at the operation timeline. "We need to accelerate," Wyatt said without preamble. "The FBI wants 2 more weeks of surveillance. My son doesn't have 2 weeks before they start poisoning his mind completely." Wyatt's voice was steel. "We move in 3 days." Ben studied his friend. "That's not the plan. Plans change when the battlefield does." Wyatt pointed to the surveillance photos. "Palmer brought divorce papers to my house yesterday. They're moving faster than anticipated. Moving faster means increased risk. Not moving faster means I lose my son." Wyatt's eyes met Ben's. 3 days. We'll be ready. That night, Wyatt drafted a letter to Liam, sealing it carefully. If anything happens to me, he told his mother, handing her the envelope. Patricia took it solemnly. Nothing will happen to you. Delaney men always come home. Even so, Wyatt replied, thinking of his grandfather who hunted Nazis, his father who lost a leg, but not his resolve, the generations of Delaney men who fought with honor. Some things need to be said. In the glow of surveillance monitors, Wyatt watched as Palmer and Melissa toasted with his whiskey in his living room. The end game was approaching, and unlike the battles he'd fought overseas, this one would end not with a flag-draped coffin, but with justice served cold. Chapter 4. Countermeasures. 3 days later, Operation Homefront accelerated like a military strike. While Melissa believed Wyatt was video calling from a Philippine military base, actually a stage set at the Pentagon, his team executed Phase 1. Diana, posing as a paralegal, delivered divorce paperwork to Melissa at her office. Hidden within the standard documentation was a single page of classified deployment schedules. Perfect bait for their trap. Mrs. Delaney? Diana affected a bored tone. Sign here acknowledging receipt. Melissa scanned the documents, eyes widening slightly at the deployment page. There must be a mistake. Some of these documents seem confidential. I just deliver them, ma'am. Diana shrugged. Your attorney can sort it out. Within 30 minutes, surveillance confirmed Melissa calling Palmer, then photographing the classified page and texting it to him. Fish on the line. Luis confirmed from their monitoring station. Phase 2 began as Ben, impersonating a Pentagon security officer, visited Congressman Tillman's office to question Veronica Slater about recent information leaks. Just routine follow-up, Ms. Slater, Ben assured her as sweat beaded on her forehead. Though we are curious how deployment schedules for Major Delaney's unit became public knowledge. I wouldn't know anything about that, she stammered. Of course not. Ben smiled professionally. Still, we'll need access to your communication records. National security protocols. Her panic calls to both Palmer and Morrison were recorded in real time by Diana's surveillance equipment. Meanwhile, Luis and Sophia executed Phase 3, financial disruption. Using evidence of the conspiracy, they convinced the bank holding the escrow accounts for Palmer and Morrison's property ventures to freeze transactions pending investigation. By evening, Noah reported from his surveillance position near the Delaney residence. Palmer just arrived looking like hell, bringing in Judge Morrison too. Emergency meeting in progress. Through hidden cameras, the team watched the conspirators argue in Wyatt's living room. You said this was clean. Morrison hissed, pacing. Now the Pentagon's sniffing around Veronica. It's nothing, Palmer insisted. A routine security check. There's nothing routine about frozen accounts. Morrison brandished his phone. $3 million in escrow, inaccessible. Melissa looked between them, confusion evident. What does this have to do with my divorce? Everything, Palmer snapped. Your husband's deployment schedule was our timeline. Now someone's connecting dots. You said getting those schedules was legal, Melissa protested. Morrison laughed bitterly. Legal? Those are classified documents. Possession alone is a federal offense. Melissa paled. You never said. You never asked. Palmer cut her off. Just like the other military wives never asked where their settlement money really came from. Watching the feed in the command center, Wyatt turned to Colonel Vance. We have confirmation. Acknowledged conspiracy to obtain classified information. Vance nodded grimly. Proceed to Phase 4. Phase 4, the hammer, began at precisely 9 p.m. when FBI agents simultaneously served search warrants at Palmer's office, Morrison's chambers, and Tillman's congressional office. Military police secured the Delaney residence, focusing particularly on the classified documents in Melissa's possession. Wyatt watched from Noah's police car as MPs escorted Palmer and Morrison out in handcuffs. Melissa followed, shell-shocked, as an agent carried Liam's backpack. Dad's deployment schedule was in my homework folder, Liam told the officers, confused and frightened. Mom said it was important to keep it safe. Seeing his son's distress, Wyatt nearly broke cover, but Noah gripped his arm. Not yet. Stick to the plan. The following morning brought Phase 5 revelation. Wyatt, in full military dress uniform, entered the federal courthouse where initial hearings for Palmer, Morrison, and Melissa were scheduled. FBI agent Teresa Liu met him in the corridor. Major Delaney, everything's in place. Judge Watkins knows your role. When Wyatt entered the courtroom, Melissa's gasp was audible. Palmer blanched visibly. Morrison's attorney immediately requested sidebar. Judge Harriet Watkins, a retired Army colonel herself, addressed the court. Before we proceed with arraignments, I understand Major Delaney wishes to address the court regarding his wife's involvement. Wyatt approached the podium, the weight of his medals emphasizing his service. Your Honor, I request all charges against Melissa Delaney be dismissed. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Major, your wife is charged with possession of classified documents and conspiracy, Watkins noted. Yes, Your Honor. However, new evidence suggests she was manipulated by co-defendants Palmer and Morrison, who have systematically targeted military families during deployments. Wyatt presented a file. This pattern of predatory behavior spans 7 years and 12 military families. Melissa stared at him, confusion and hope battling across her features. Judge Watkins reviewed the documents, expression hardening. I'll review this evidence. Defendants Palmer and Morrison will remain in custody. Mrs. Delaney is released to her husband's supervision pending further investigation. Outside the courtroom, Melissa approached cautiously. Why, I don't understand. You're supposed to be overseas. Special assignment. His voice remained neutral. Where's Liam? With your mother. Wyatt, why are you doing this? After what I did. Because unlike you, I meant my vows. His eyes bore into hers. And because Liam deserves better than watching his mother go to prison. The things they're saying about Davis and Judge Morrison are true. They've been running this scheme for years. Targeting military families, exploiting deployments, corrupting the legal system. He stepped closer. The only question is how much you knew. Tears welled in her eyes. I just wanted out. Davis said he could help make it clean, make sure I got custody. By stealing classified documents? By using our son as an unwitting courier? Shame colored her face. I never thought. That's the problem, Melissa. You never thought about anyone but yourself. Phase 6, resolution, began that afternoon at the Delaney family home. Howard and Patricia had brought Liam back, the boy rushing to his father with tearful relief. You're home early. Did you fight the bad guys already? Wyatt embraced his son, eyes meeting his father's over Liam's head. Something like that, buddy. Later, while Liam played outside, Wyatt laid out Melissa's options. Option 1. Fight the charges, likely serve 3 to 5 years federal time. Lose custody permanently. She flinched. Option 2. Full cooperation against Palmer and Morrison. Probation, supervised visitation, gradual custody sharing as you demonstrate rehabilitation. You're offering joint custody? After everything. I'm offering what's best for Liam. He needs his mother, but he needs her to be worthy of him. Melissa wiped tears. What about us? There is no us. Not anymore. Wyatt's voice was final. But there will always be Liam, and he deserves 2 parents who put him first. That evening, Noah arrived with news. Palmer's talking. Turns out he's got records on everyone. Insurance policy. Morrison, Tillman, Slater, 3 other judges, 2 more congressmen. The FBI's ecstatic. And military families? The other victims? Wyatt asked. JAG Corps is reviewing every case judged by Morrison involving military personnel. Colonel Vance thinks settlements will be invalidated, benefits restored. Howard clapped his son's shoulder. Justice delivered, Major. Not quite yet, Wyatt replied, watching through the window as Melissa sat alone on the porch swing. Her world collapsed around her. But we're getting there. That night, after Liam was asleep, Wyatt found Melissa packing a small bag. I call my sister in Boston, she explained quietly. I'll stay with her during the proceedings. Wyatt nodded. Good. I never meant to hurt Liam, she said suddenly. I convinced myself this was better for him. A clean break, a fresh start. With another man's money and my son. I was wrong. Tears streaked her face. So wrong. About everything. For a moment, Wyatt remembered the young architecture student he'd fallen for, brilliant, passionate, fearless. Before ambition curdled into entitlement, before us became me. Melissa, he said finally, what you do next matters more than what you did before. For Liam's sake, make it count. As she left, carrying the fragments of their shattered marriage, Wyatt felt not victory, but weary resolution. The counterattack had succeeded, the enemy neutralized, but the battlefield would never be the same. Chapter 5, Fallout. 3 weeks after Operation Homefront, tremors still radiated through Washington's military and political circles. Judge Morrison's judicial career ended with his arrest. Congressman Tillman announced his retirement to spend time with family ahead of indictment. And Davis Palmer faced 18 federal counts, including conspiracy, fraud, and mishandling classified information. The Arlington courtroom buzzed with whispers as Wyatt entered for Palmer's bail hearing. Several military officers nodded respectfully. Word had spread about his role in uncovering the conspiracy. Major Delaney, Judge Watkins acknowledged from the bench. I understand you wish to address the court regarding bail considerations. Wyatt approached the podium in dress uniform. Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution has asked me to testify regarding flight risk. Palmer, hollow-eyed in his orange jumpsuit, avoided Wyatt's gaze. In my professional assessment, Mr. Palmer maintains substantial offshore assets and connections in countries without extradition treaties. His passport shows 7 trips to Belize last year alone, where we've identified property holdings under shell companies. Objection. Palmer's attorney protested. Major Delaney is not a financial expert. Actually, Judge Watkins replied dryly. His JAG credentials include certification in forensic accounting and international asset tracing. Overruled. Bail was denied. As U.S. Marshals escorted Palmer out, he finally locked eyes with Wyatt, hatred palpable between them. Outside the courthouse, journalist Charlotte Webb approached, digital recorder extended. Major Delaney, care to comment on rumors that the Palmer-Morrison conspiracy targeted dozens of military families during deployments? No comment during ongoing proceedings, Wyatt replied professionally. What about allegations that your JAG team operated extrajudicially? That surveillance was conducted without proper warrants. Wyatt's step faltered slightly. All operations were conducted within legal parameters with proper authorization. Sources suggest otherwise, Major. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'll be running the story tomorrow. Military justice or vigilante vengeance. Colonel Vance called an emergency meeting that afternoon. This journalist has sources, she began without preamble, addressing Wyatt and his team. Internal sources who know operational details. A leak, Diana suggested. Or retaliation, Ben countered. The conspiracy had deep roots. We've rattled powerful cages. Vance fixed her gaze on Wyatt. Major, there are questions about surveillance timing. Records indicate you installed monitoring equipment in your home before receiving official authorization. The room tensed. That's correct, Colonel, Wyatt admitted. Initial surveillance was installed under personal authority as the homeowner. Using military-grade equipment, Vance pressed. Equipment I personally own, purchased legally from surplus auctions after decommissioning. Vance's expression remained severe. Creative interpretation, Major. One that may not satisfy Inspector General investigators if this journalist's story gains traction. The implications hung heavy. Careers in jeopardy, pensions at risk, possible charges. Colonel, Sophia interjected. Everything we uncovered was legitimate. The conspiracy was real. The ends don't justify improper means, Captain Winters. Not in military justice. Wyatt straightened. I take full responsibility, Colonel. The team followed my orders, believing proper authorization was in place. Noble but unnecessary, Major. Vance sighed. I've already implemented countermeasures. The journalist's primary source, Veronica Slater, has been arrested attempting to flee the country. Her credibility is shot. Relief rippled through the room. However, Vance continued, this situation underscores our vulnerability. The conspirators still have allies within the system. Proceed with extreme caution. Later that day, Wyatt received a troubling call from Noah. We've got a situation. Melissa's been followed since leaving court. Two men, professional surveillance. Palmer's people, not feds, not local. Private, military bearing. Keep watch. I'm heading to Boston tonight. That's the problem. She's not in Boston anymore. According to her sister, she never arrived. Wyatt's blood chilled. Find her, Noah. Use everything you've got. Already on it. And Wyatt? Watch your six. These guys aren't playing games. That evening, as Wyatt reviewed security around his parents' home, where Liam was staying, a text arrived from an unknown number. Your wife made a deal. So can you. Back off, or the next target isn't your marriage, but your son. Final warning. Inside, Howard noticed his son's expression. Trouble. Wyatt showed him the text. Escalation. Howard's weathered face hardened. They're threatening my grandson? It's a desperate play. Their case is collapsing. Or it's bigger than we thought. Howard's tactical mind, honed through decades of military service, assessed possibilities. What if Palmer and Morrison were just middle management? What if there's someone higher pulling strings? The theory crystallized as Wyatt considered the conspiracy's sophistication. Someone with enough influence to corrupt judges and congressmen. Someone with enough at stake to risk threatening a JAG officer's family. Wyatt called Colonel Vance immediately, forwarding the threatening text. This changes things, she agreed. I'm assigning a security detail to your family immediately. And Major? I'm taking this to the Secretary of Defense. This just became national security. Within hours, military police established a protective perimeter around the Delaney family home. Liam, thinking it was part of the game, was thrilled to have real soldiers guarding him. Just like Dad's missions, he told Patricia excitedly. Are the bad guys coming, Grandma? No, sweetheart, she assured him, exchanging worried glances with Howard. This is just practice. Meanwhile, Diana's digital forensics team traced the threatening text to a burner phone purchased at a convenience store near FBI headquarters. Security footage showed the buyer, Special Agent Robert Keller, FBI liaison to the Congressional Intelligence Committee. The rot goes deeper than we thought, Vance concluded grimly when briefed. If FBI is compromised, we need to operate outside normal channels, Wyatt finished. Officially, I can't authorize that, Vance replied, then paused deliberately. Unofficially, I'll be in meetings all day tomorrow. Completely unreachable. Understanding the implicit green light, Wyatt gathered his core team, Noah, Ben, Diana, Luis, and Sophia, at a secure location that evening. We've got 24 hours with Vance's unofficial blessing, he explained. We need to find Melissa and identify who's really behind this. I've got something, Diana said, pulling up financial records. Palmer's shell companies all trace back to offshore accounts controlled by a holding company called Sentinel Strategic Partners. Military contractor, been identified immediately. They handle secure communications for classified deployments. The missing piece clicked into place. That's how they access deployment schedules, Wyatt realized. Not just through Slater's congressional access. Sentinel CEO is Victor Hargrove, Luis added. Former Navy, connected to multiple congressional committees through lobbying. Sophia pulled up Hargrove's profile. Divorced 3 times. Each ex-wife represented by the same law firm where Palmer was previously partner. The architect behind the architects, Noah summarized. And now, threatening my family, Wyatt concluded. Let's bring him down. The team split into operational cells. Diana and Luis tracked financial connections between Hargrove and the conspiracy's known members. Ben coordinated with trusted military intelligence contacts to monitor Hargrove's movements. Sophia and Noah focused on locating Melissa. By midnight, they had a breakthrough. Melissa's phone briefly activated near a private airfield in rural Virginia where Sentinel maintained a corporate hangar. She's either cooperating with them or being held, Noah assessed. Either way, she's leverage, Wyatt responded. We move now. Using Noah's police credentials and Ben's military authority, they established surveillance on the airfield. Shortly before dawn, thermal imaging detected movement in the hangar. 4 heat signatures, 1 seated and stationary. That's our hostage profile, Ben confirmed. Wyatt made the call. Execute breach and clear. Secure the hostage. The operation unfolded. Noah's SWAT colleagues, briefed as responding to a kidnapping, breached the hangar while Wyatt and Ben provided tactical support. Inside, they found Melissa handcuffed to a chair, guarded by two private security contractors with military backgrounds. Federal agents. Hands where we can see them. Noah's team commanded. One guard reached for his weapon, but froze as multiple laser sights centered on his chest. Smart choice, Noah commented, advancing to secure them. Wyatt rushed to Melissa, who looked simultaneously terrified and relieved. Are you hurt? He asked, unlocking her restraints. No, she whispered. Wyatt, they know everything about the surveillance, the evidence, all of it. They were going to use me to get to Liam. Who ordered this? Hargrove. Victor Hargrove. He was here earlier. Said if he didn't back off, they'd take Liam to motivate cooperation. Cold fury filled Wyatt. We're ending this. Now, back at command, Diana presented her findings. Hargrove's company has government contracts worth billions for deployment communications. The conspiracy wasn't just about divorces. It was industrial espionage. They used the deployment information to position Sentinel's assets ahead of military movements. Capitalizing on advanced knowledge of where troops would deploy, Ben realized, giving them competitive advantages against other contractors. Louise continued. The divorce scheme was just a side hustle. The real money came from manipulating contract bids based on classified deployment information. Colonel Vance, having returned from her meetings, reviewed the evidence grimly. This is beyond JAG jurisdiction. I'm activating Joint Special Operations Command protocols. Within hours, federal agents raided Sentinel headquarters and Hargrove's estate simultaneously. The evidence was overwhelming. Classified documents, illegal financial transfers, communications outlining the conspiracy. Victor Hargrove, discovered attempting to board his private jet, was arrested on charges of espionage, conspiracy, and kidnapping. Watching the news coverage from the safety of his parents' home, Wyatt held Liam close. The boy, unaware of how close danger had come, was simply happy to have both parents nearby. Melissa sat quietly across the room, still processing her ordeal. Is it over? Patricia asked softly. The immediate threat, yes, Wyatt confirmed. The investigation is expanding. More arrests coming. Military families affected by the scheme are being notified. Howard regarded his son proudly. You did good, soldier. We did good, Wyatt corrected, acknowledging his team's sacrifices. But there's still fallout to manage. Indeed, the collapse of the conspiracy had created shockwaves through military and political circles. Trust in systems was damaged. Families who had lost homes, assets, and custody would need help rebuilding. And his own family, particularly Liam, faced a long healing process. That night, after Liam was asleep, Melissa approached Wyatt on the porch. The FBI says I'm still facing charges, but with reduced severity given my cooperation and circumstances. Wyatt nodded. I'll testify about the coercion. It should help. Why? She asked suddenly. After what I did, why help me at all? Because despite everything, you're still Liam's mother. He paused. And because sometimes justice isn't about punishment, but restoration. She studied him in the porch light, seeing perhaps for the first time in years the man she'd once loved, steadfast, principled, resilient. I don't deserve your help. No, he agreed quietly. But Liam deserves a mother who learns from her mistakes. So prove yourself worthy of him. As she returned inside, Wyatt gazed at the stars, feeling not victory, but weary resolution. The counterattack had succeeded, the enemy neutralized, but the battlefield, his family, his career, his life, would never be the same. The real reconstruction was just beginning. Chapter 6. Reckoning. The military tribunal convened on a rainy Tuesday, 6 weeks after Operation Homefront concluded. Inside the austere hearing room at the Pentagon, Wyatt stood at attention before 5 senior officers, including General Maxwell Thornton, Judge Advocate General of the Army. Major Delaney, General Thornton began, This tribunal will determine whether your actions in the Palmer-Morrison-Hargrove investigation merit commendation or court-martial. Wyatt maintained parade rest. Understand, sir, you utilized military resources for what began as a personal matter. You conducted surveillance without initial authorization. You operated outside chain of command. Yes, sir. You also uncovered a conspiracy that compromised national security, endangered military families, and corrupted the judicial system. Thornton's expression remained unreadable. Complex situations demand nuanced judgment. For the next 3 hours, Wyatt testified about each decision, each tactical choice. Colonel Vance provided context about authorization timelines. The evidence was reviewed. Major, asked Colonel Renato Westfield, the tribunal's most senior member after Thornton, at what point did this transition from a personal matter to an official investigation in your mind? When I discovered classified deployment schedules had been compromised, ma'am. At that moment, it became a matter of national security. Yet you didn't immediately report it through proper channels. No, ma'am. I assessed that the conspiracy had penetrated those channels. Strategic counterintelligence required operational security. Westfield studied him. So you appointed yourself the ultimate authority on what constituted proper procedure. No, ma'am. I made a tactical assessment based on immediate threat indicators. I accept full responsibility for that assessment and its consequences. General Thornton interjected. What you're describing, Major, sounds remarkably like the justifications I've heard from officers who've gone rogue. With respect, General, I never went rogue. I operated within military law to counter a threat to military security. My methods were unconventional, but my objective aligned with our core mission, protecting those who serve and their families. After deliberation, the tribunal rendered its decision. Wyatt would receive an official reprimand for procedural violations, but also the Distinguished Service Medal for uncovering the conspiracy. He would retain his rank, but transfer from JAG Corps to the newly formed Military Family Advocacy Unit, a position that would utilize his experience protecting service members from predatory practices. Consider this both punishment and promotion, Major, Thornton concluded. The military needs rule followers and rule questioners. The wisdom is knowing which situation demands which approach. Outside the hearing room, Colonel Vance waited. Fair outcome. Fair, Wyatt agreed. And necessary. Actions have consequences, even justified ones. Your new unit launches next month. 16 similar conspiracies have been identified nationwide. Your template will guide investigations. My team, reassigned to your command, if they choose to accept. I suspect they will. That evening, Wyatt returned to his temporary apartment. Since the operation concluded, he had maintained separate residence from Melissa, who remained in the family home with Liam under supervised conditions set by family court. His phone rang. Noah with weekly updates. Palmer's plea deal finalized. 15 years federal, testimony against Hargrove and 12 other conspirators in exchange for avoiding espionage charges. Morrison, disbarred, awaiting sentencing. Looking at 10 to 12 for judicial corruption. Hargrove, that's the big one. Prosecutions seeking 30 to life for espionage. Defense Department has identified 47 compromised operations from his company's intelligence theft. Wyatt absorbed this, satisfaction mixing with weariness. And the families? The other victims? JAG Corps established a special victims unit. 43 cases identified so far where Morrison's rulings disadvantaged military personnel during deployments. All under review. Good, Wyatt said simply. Noah hesitated. There's more. Charlotte Webb is still digging. She's focusing on collateral damage. Marriages destroyed, children caught in crossfire. She's not wrong, Wyatt admitted. We stopped the conspiracy, but we couldn't undo the human cost. The following day, Wyatt met with his son's therapist, Dr. Elena Ramirez. Liam's processing trauma through displacement, she explained. He's created a narrative where his mother was tricked by bad guys rather than facing her agency in the betrayal. Is that harmful? It's protective, temporarily. But eventually, he'll need to integrate the reality that people he loves made choices that hurt him. Including me, Wyatt acknowledged. My counterattack put him at risk. Dr. Ramirez nodded. Children are collateral damage in adult conflicts, Major Delaney. Your challenge now is helping him rebuild trust in his mother, in you, in stability itself. Later that afternoon, Wyatt picked up Liam for their court-approved weekend together. The boy seemed subdued, clutching his backpack tightly. Everything okay, buddy? Mom was crying again. Wyatt's jaw tightened. Was someone at the house? No. She was looking at papers. She said they're making her say bad things about you. But she doesn't want to. Legal discovery documents, Wyatt realized. Despite the criminal cases proceeding, their divorce remained in process, with Melissa's attorneys still pursuing aggressive tactics. Grown-up problems, Wyatt assured him. Nothing for you to worry about. At the park later, while Liam played with other children, Wyatt received an unexpected call from Melissa. My lawyers want me to claim you used excessive force during the hangar raid, she said without preamble. They're building a civil case against you. For rescuing you from kidnappers? Wyatt asked incredulously. For endangering me in the first place. They say if you hadn't pursued the investigation, I wouldn't have been targeted. And what do you say? Silence stretched between them. I say I'm tired of being a pawn. First Palmer's, now my attorneys. So don't be. It's not that simple. My plea deal depends on cooperation. With the criminal case, yes. Not with civil litigation against your son's father. Another long pause. The hearing for custody modification is next week. I know. What will you say? About me as a mother? Wyatt watched Liam on the swings, his small face momentarily carefree. The truth. That you made terrible choices but weren't the mastermind. That you're seeking treatment and working to rebuild trust. That despite everything, you love your son. Her voice cracked. Why aren't you destroying me? You have every right. Because scorched earth leaves nothing for Liam to stand on. After the call, Wyatt sat contemplating next steps when a shadow fell across the bench. Charlotte Webb, digital recorder in hand. Major Delaney, mind if I join you? My son's present. This isn't the time. Actually, it's exactly what I wanted to discuss. She sat uninvited. You've been painted as the hero who brought down a conspiracy, but I'm interested in the personal cost. What this did to him. Wyatt's expression hardened. My son is off limits. The tactical brilliance of Operation Homefront is undeniable, she continued, unfazed. But I wonder if you considered the psychological impact on a child whose father weaponized his legal and military expertise against his mother. Ms. Webb, 26 children of military personnel lost stable homes due to Palmer and Morrison's conspiracy. You helped expose that. Admirable. But what about the damage done during your counteroffensive? The trauma of watching parents at war? Wyatt stood. This conversation is over. One question, Major. If you could do it again, knowing the cost to your son, would you choose justice or mercy? The question lingered as Wyatt collected Liam and drove home. Would he? The conspiracy had been stopped, predators imprisoned, military families protected. But his son still woke with nightmares. His wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, faced criminal charges and public humiliation. The damage spread in concentric circles. That night, Wyatt drafted a lengthy email to his new command outlining protocols for military family protection that balanced justice with harm reduction. Procedural safeguards for children. Psychological support requirements. Accountability metrics that considered human factors alongside legal outcomes. As he worked, Liam appeared in the doorway, pajama-clad and sleepy. Dad? I had a bad dream. Wyatt opened his arms. Come here, buddy. Liam climbed into his lap. I dreamed Mom went away forever. That won't happen. Wyatt stroked his son's hair. Your mom made mistakes, but she's working hard to fix them. And she loves you very much. Are you still mad at her? How to answer? The betrayal remained raw. The conspiracy had nearly destroyed his career, endangered his son, violated his home. Yet beneath the anger lay something more complex. Grief for what was lost, concern for what remained. I'm sad about what happened, he said finally. But being angry forever doesn't help anybody, especially not you. Is that why you're helping her? Mom says you're talking to her lawyers to fix things. I'm trying to make things right for you. Liam considered this with childlike directness. Can things be right again? Like before. Not exactly like before, Wyatt answered honestly. But they can be good in a different way. We'll always be your parents, and we'll always love you. The following day, Wyatt met with Melissa and their respective attorneys to discuss modified custody arrangements. My client acknowledges her role in the events, Melissa's lawyer began formally, but maintains that coercion and manipulation were significant factors. We're not here to relitigate criminal matters, Wyatt's attorney responded. The court's priority is the child's welfare. Melissa suddenly interrupted. I want to speak directly to Wyatt. The lawyers exchanged glances but withdrew to give them privacy. I've been offered a plea deal, Melissa began once they were alone. 2 years probation, no incarceration, in exchange for complete cooperation against Palmer and Hargrove. You should take it. It would mean admitting under oath that I knowingly accessed classified information, that I endangered our son by involving him. Yes. Her eyes filled. I'll lose custody. Not necessarily. Wyatt leaned forward. I'm willing to submit a statement supporting graduated custody restoration based on compliance and therapeutic progress. Disbelief crossed her face. You would do that? Why? Because punishment without rehabilitation helps no one. Because Liam needs both parents healthy and present. Because holding you underwater keeps both of us from moving forward. For the first time since the nightmare began, something like hope flickered in her expression. I don't deserve your mercy. This isn't about what you deserve, Wyatt replied evenly. It's about what Liam deserves, and what kind of example I want to set for my son. The custody agreement they ultimately crafted reflected this philosophy. Supervised visitation, transitioning to shared custody as Melissa completed therapy, parenting classes, and probation requirements. Financial settlements that were fair rather than punitive. Parameters for communication and co-parenting that protected Liam's well-being above all. That evening, Colonel Vance called with unexpected news. Charlotte Webb's expose has been canceled. Her editor pulled it after reviewing classified evidence about the broader national security implications. That's convenient, Wyatt noted suspiciously. Perhaps. Or perhaps someone realized that continuing to publicize this case would only further traumatize innocent parties. Someone like you, Colonel. I may have had a conversation about journalistic ethics and collateral damage. Her tone remained professional. Speaking of which, how is Liam? Processing. It will take time. And you, Major? Wyatt considered the question. The betrayal still stung. The violation of his home and marriage left scars. But his son was safe. Justice had been served. And somehow, amid the wreckage, he'd found a path forward that honored duty without sacrificing humanity. I'm reassessing battlefield priorities, Colonel. Meaning, some victories aren't worth the cost. And some defeats teach more valuable lessons than successes. 2 days later, the Military Family Advocacy Unit received official Pentagon authorization. Wyatt's first official act was establishing the Children's Protection Protocol, guidelines ensuring that counterintelligence operations involving military families prioritized minimizing trauma to dependents. As he signed the document, his phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Liam made honor roll. Parent-teacher conference next Tuesday. Would you consider attending together? For him, progress measured in small steps. Healing quantified in brief moments of cooperation. Justice tempered by mercy. Wyatt typed his reply. For Liam, yes. We'll be there. Chapter 7. Reconstruction. 8 months after Operation Homefront concluded, Wyatt stood in the Pentagon briefing room presenting findings to a joint military-civilian task force on predatory practices targeting service members. The Hargrove Network represents merely one manifestation of systematic exploitation, he explained, gesturing to data projections. Our investigations have identified similar operations in 11 states, primarily near major military installations. Secretary of Defense Eleanor Garrison leaned forward. In your unit's recommendations, Major? A three-pronged approach, Madam Secretary. First, enhance counterintelligence, focusing on classified deployment information security. Second, judicial oversight reforms for military divorce proceedings. Third, comprehensive support services for affected families. Ambitious, she noted. Necessary, he countered respectfully. This isn't just about national security. It's about fulfilling our promise to those who serve. After the briefing, Colonel Vance approached. Impressive presentation. The secretary doesn't give many second glances, but she gave you several. The data speaks for itself, Colonel. No, Delaney, you made it speak. There's a difference. She handed him a folder. Your promotion paperwork. Lieutenant Colonel, effective next month. Wyatt accepted it with mixed emotions. Thank you, but you're wondering if it's deserved given your procedural violations. Vance's expression softened slightly. The military needs officers who understand both rules and justice aren't always perfectly aligned, who can navigate that gap with integrity. Later that afternoon, Wyatt arrived at Liam's school for his science fair. He spotted Melissa already there, helping set up their son's project on battlefield communications. Liam's interest in his father's work translated into educational enthusiasm. Dad! Liam spotted him, waving excitedly. Come see. It actually works. The display featured a simple encrypted communication system Liam had built with guidance from Howard, who now proudly stood nearby, explaining the principles to other parents. He's got your tactical mind, Howard noted as Wyatt approached, and his mother's eye for design. Indeed, the presentation board showed Melissa's architectural influence, clean lines, visual hierarchy, perfect proportions. We make a good team, Wyatt acknowledged, nodding to Melissa across the room. Their co-parenting relationship had evolved into something functional, if not friendly. Shared custody transitions happened without conflict. Major decisions were discussed rationally. For Liam's sake, they maintained civil interactions at school events, medical appointments, and family occasions. During the awards ceremony, Liam received honorable mention. His beaming face as he accepted the certificate, looking to both parents for approval, made every difficult step of their journey worthwhile. As families dispersed afterward, Noah arrived with his wife Sandy and their daughter Zoe, Liam's longtime friend. Uncle Noah. Liam ran to hug him. Did you see my project? Wouldn't have missed it, kiddo. That encryption method? We use something similar on tactical ops. While the children compared ribbons, Noah pulled Wyatt aside. Heads up. Victor Hargrove's sentencing is tomorrow. His attorneys submitted your name as a character witness. For the defense? That's absurd. Apparently he's claiming your personal vendetta created confirmation bias in the investigation, tainting evidence collection. His conspiracy kidnapped my wife and threatened my son, which his attorney frames as alleged events occurring after an unauthorized military intelligence operation. He's working the procedural angle hard. Wyatt's jaw tightened. Will it work? Not likely. The evidence is overwhelming, but it could create complications for ongoing cases if procedural questions get traction. That evening, after dropping Liam at Melissa's for her custody week, Wyatt met with his legal team to prepare for the hearing. Diana and Luis had compiled comprehensive timelines establishing that evidence collection followed proper protocols once official authorization was granted. The pre-authorization surveillance is the vulnerability, Diana acknowledged. But given the circumstances, threats against your family, classified information breach, any reasonable judge would understand the exigent circumstances. Hargrove's desperate, Luis added. He's facing 25 to life. This is his Hail Mary. In court the next morning, Wyatt watched impassively as Hargrove's attorney, Preston Sullivan, argued for leniency. Your Honor, while the allegations against my client are serious, the investigation that produced them was fundamentally tainted by Major Delaney's personal vendetta. What began as matrimonial surveillance escalated into an extrajudicial military operation targeting civilians. Judge Imani Rhodes, known for her approach, studied Sullivan over her glasses. Counselor, the evidence against your client includes financial records, communications, and testimony from 17 co-conspirators. Are you suggesting all of this was fabricated due to Major Delaney's supposed vendetta? I'm suggesting, Your Honor, that the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine applies. The initial surveillance was unauthorized, making subsequent evidence collection suspect. The surveillance of my own home was fully within my rights as the homeowner, Wyatt testified when called. Once national security implications became apparent through legally obtained evidence, proper military channels were engaged. After the fact, Sullivan pressed, after you'd already decided my client was guilty, after I discovered classified deployment schedules had been compromised, endangering military personnel and operations. Mr. Hargrove's company had exclusive access to those schedules. Circumstantial. Mr. Hargrove's offshore accounts received payments corresponding precisely to deployment date changes. His communications with Palmer and Morrison reference schedule adjustments that match classified information exactly. And when his operation was threatened, he authorized the kidnapping of my wife and threats against my child. Wyatt's voice remained controlled but forceful. Those aren't circumstances, Mr. Sullivan. Those are facts. Judge Rhodes ultimately sentenced Hargrove to 22 years, citing the extraordinary breach of trust against the nation's defense infrastructure and callous exploitation of military families during their most vulnerable periods. As marshals led Hargrove away, he locked eyes with Wyatt. This isn't over, Major. Men like us are never finished. The threat lingered as Wyatt left the courthouse. Outside, Charlotte Webb waited. Major Delaney, care to comment on today's sentencing? Justice was served. That's all that matters. Is it? She fell in a step beside him. Hargrove's going to prison, but what about the system that enabled him? The oversight failures? The cultural vulnerabilities he exploited? Wyatt paused. This wasn't the gotcha journalism he'd expected. Those are precisely the issues my unit is addressing. I'd like to hear about that, she said, surprising him. Off the record, initially, I'm working on a series about military family resilience. Not an expose, a constructive examination of challenges and solutions. Her sincerity seemed genuine. After consideration, Wyatt agreed to a preliminary discussion. That conversation, over coffee at a Pentagon City cafe, revealed a journalist more nuanced than he'd assumed, a military daughter herself, with personal understanding of deployment strains. My father served 3 tours in Iraq, she explained. My mother held us together, but the system offered minimal support. When they divorced after his return, the judge had zero understanding of military pension complexities. They lost everything fighting over technicalities. That's exactly the vulnerability Hargrove's group exploited, which is why this story matters beyond scandal headlines. She closed her notebook. Your family protection protocols could prevent thousands of similar situations. Their professional relationship evolved over subsequent weeks as Webb interviewed military families, advocates, and legal experts for her series. The resulting articles, Defending the Defenders, Military Families Under Siege, and The Homefront Battle, Protecting Those Who Protect Us, brought national attention to the issues Wyatt's unit addressed. More importantly, the publicity generated congressional support for the Military Family Protection Act, legislation establishing enhanced legal protections for deployed service members and their dependents. 3 months later, Wyatt received an unexpected visitor at his Pentagon office. Melissa, professionally dressed for her community service assignment at the Veterans Administration. I hope this isn't inappropriate, she began awkwardly, but I wanted to deliver this personally. She handed him court documents, her completed probation requirements, therapy certifications, and a motion for custody modification according to their agreement. You've completed everything, he noted, reviewing the paperwork. And more, she added. The VA position. They've offered me a permanent role designing accessible housing for disabled veterans. I'll be working with your father on the advisory committee. Wyatt looked up, surprised. You, my father? He was reluctant initially, but we found common ground in wanting to help veterans, and in loving Liam. The transformation wasn't just documented in court papers, but evident in her demeanor. The entitled architect who'd plotted his financial ruin had been replaced by someone humbled, purposeful, focused beyond herself. I'll sign the custody modification today, he promised. You've earned it. Thank you. She hesitated. There's something else. I've been asked to speak at a JAG Corps conference about predatory practices targeting military spouses. To explain how someone like me, educated, privileged, could be manipulated into betraying family. That takes courage. I owe it to the family still at risk, and to Liam, to show him people can take responsibility and make amends. As she turned to leave, Wyatt found himself asking, "Are you well, Melissa?" Truly, she considered the question seriously. "I'm rebuilding. Some days are harder than others. The shame doesn't disappear, but it's becoming productive rather than paralyzing." She met his eyes directly. "And you?" "Similar. Rebuilding. Different foundation, same goal, creating something stable for Liam." That weekend, during Wyatt's custody time, he took Liam camping in the Blue Ridge Mountains, the kind of father-son adventure that had become their new tradition. "Dad, can I ask something serious?" Liam inquired as they fished together on a sunlit afternoon. "Always. Are you and Mom ever getting back together?" The question, though expected eventually, still landed heavily. "No, buddy, we're not. But we're both always going to be your parents, and we're both always going to love you." Liam nodded, processing. "I used to hope you would. But maybe it's better this way. You don't fight anymore." The simple observation, from a child's perspective, peace mattered more than family structure, offered profound wisdom. "We're trying to do what's best for you. That means being good parents separately instead of unhappy parents together. Mom says you taught her that sometimes the bravest thing is admitting when you're wrong." Wyatt smiled slightly. "Your mom's learning important lessons. So am I." "Like what?" "Like how strength isn't about never getting knocked down. It's about how you get back up, how you rebuild." That night, as Liam slept in their tent, Wyatt received a text from Noah. Hargrove filed appeal. Claims rights violations. Hearing next month. Some battles, it seemed, continued beyond apparent victory. Yet looking at his sleeping son's face, Wyatt found perspective. The greatest victory wasn't putting Hargrove behind bars, but preserving Liam's future, his sense of security, his trust in parental love, his understanding of integrity. The next morning, standing on a mountain overlook with Liam, Wyatt pointed out landmarks in the distance. "See that river valley? During the Civil War, armies fought for control of that passage. Whoever held the high ground could see enemies approaching. Like your military operations?" Liam asked. "Similar principle. Information and position determine advantage." Liam considered this seriously. "Is that how you caught the bad guys who try to hurt us? By having better information?" "Partly, but mainly by remembering what was worth fighting for." Wyatt rested his hand on his son's shoulder. "Some battles you fight for strategic objectives. The important ones you fight for people you love. Would you do it all again? Even the hard parts?" The question echoed Charlotte Webb's months earlier. Would he choose justice or mercy? The tactical brilliance or the human cost? The answer, Wyatt realized, had evolved. "I would protect you with everything I have," he answered truthfully. "But I've learned there are smarter ways to fight, ways that cause less collateral damage. That's what I'm teaching other military families now." The reconstruction continued, of his career, his family relationships, his understanding of victory itself. The battlefield had shifted from courtrooms and surveillance operations to the quieter, more consequential ground of a child's heart and mind. That evening, facing another mountain sunset, Wyatt sent a brief text to Melissa. "Liam asked difficult questions today. Handled well. He's healing. We all are." Her reply came moments later. "Thank you for that. For everything. For showing mercy when you could have destroyed me. He's lucky to have you as his father." Not victory, Wyatt reflected. Something more valuable. Reconstruction. Chapter 8. Resilience. 1 year after Operation Homefront, Wyatt stood before the Senate Armed Services Committee, testifying about the Military Family Protection Act his unit had helped draft. "Senator, this legislation addresses 3 critical vulnerabilities," he explained. "First, it establishes heightened judicial scrutiny for divorce proceedings involving deployed personnel. Second, it creates a secure verification system for deployment information to prevent classification breaches. Third, it mandates comprehensive support services for affected families." Senator Margaret Chin studied him over reading glasses. "Impressive scope, Lieutenant Colonel. Your personal experience clearly informs this work." "Yes, Senator. I've witnessed firsthand how these vulnerabilities impact service members and their families. Your ex-wife testified earlier about her role as an unwitting participant in what she termed predatory exploitation of military families. Her testimony was compelling. Wyatt maintained professional composure despite his surprise. Melissa hadn't mentioned testifying. I'm glad she's contributing to the solution. She credited you with showing, and I quote, extraordinary restraint and humanity in the face of betrayal. Care to comment? Only that protecting military families requires focusing on systemic solutions rather than personal grievances. The objective remains improved security and support. Afterward, waiting in the Capitol corridor, Wyatt was approached by General Thornton, now his direct superior. Measured testimony, Delaney. The committee was impressed. Thank you, sir. Your ex-wife's morning testimony helped considerably. Putting a human face on exploitation created the emotional foundation for your technical recommendations. I wasn't aware she'd been called to testify. Thornton studied him. She wasn't. She volunteered. Said she owed it to other military families to prevent similar situations. The revelation lingered as Wyatt drove to pick up Liam from school. Their custody arrangement had stabilized. Alternating weeks with coordinated activities and consistent communication between households. Liam had adjusted remarkably well, his initial anxiety transforming into resilience. Dad! Liam bounded toward the car, backpack bouncing. Guess what? I got selected for the Junior Leadership Academy. The prestigious program selected promising students for specialized mentorship. That's fantastic, buddy. When did you find out? Today. Mom already knows. She was at school for her architecture presentation when they announced it. Melissa's architectural expertise had evolved from luxury developments to community-focused projects, veterans housing, school renovations, accessibility designs. Her community service requirement had transformed into passionate advocacy. That evening, while Liam completed homework, Wyatt received an unexpected call from Charlotte Webb. Lieutenant Colonel, I have information you should know. Victor Hargrove's appeal includes new allegations, claims that evidence was planted, that the conspiracy was fabricated to advance military intelligence budgets. That's absurd, obviously, but he's hired Preston Sullivan's entire firm. They're preparing a media offensive coordinated with a legal strategy. It gets personal, Wyatt. They're planning to drag your son into it. His blood chilled. Ow! Claiming Liam was manipulated into providing false testimony. That you coached him. Liam never testified. We deliberately shielded him from proceedings. Facts won't matter in their media strategy. They're creating alternative narratives to confuse public perception and pressure prosecutors toward a deal. Why are you telling me this? Because your family protection work matters. Because I've interviewed 50 military families helped by your unit's interventions. Because journalists aren't supposed to be manipulated into becoming weapons. After hanging up, Wyatt immediately called Colonel Vance, now Brigadier General Vance, head of the JAG Corps. Hargrove's planning psychological warfare, he explained, outlining Webb's warning. Not surprising, Vance replied. He built his career on information manipulation. But dragging a child into it crosses lines. I need options that protect Liam while preserving case integrity. I'll contact federal prosecutors immediately. Meanwhile, secure communications protocols. Assume surveillance. The warning proved prescient. The following day, unfamiliar vehicles appeared near both Wyatt's apartment and Melissa's home. Liam reported being approached by a substitute teacher, asking unusual questions about his parents. Most disturbingly, private photographs of Liam at school appeared on obscure websites alongside manipulated narratives questioning the Hargrove prosecution. Wyatt implemented immediate countermeasures, coordinating with NOAA to establish police presence near Liam's school, requesting temporary electronic surveillance sweeps of both residences, and arranging secure transportation. Most critically, he contacted Melissa directly rather than through attorneys. We need to coordinate security, he explained during an urgent meeting at a secure Pentagon conference room. Hargrove's people are targeting Liam to pressure both of us. Melissa's face paled. The man who approached him at school? likely one of Sullivan's investigators. We've alerted school administration and implemented verification protocols. What do they want? The case is closed. Hargrove was convicted. They want leverage for his appeal. Pressure points to force prosecutorial concessions. Wyatt outlined the security plan. We need to present a unified response. No daylight between us for them to exploit. For the first time since their marriage collapsed, they found themselves in complete alignment. Co-parents united against external threat. Whatever you need, Melissa agreed immediately. Liam's safety comes first. The coordinated protection operation transformed their co-parenting into active collaboration. Daily security briefings, synchronized schedules, consistent messaging for Liam about safety without creating undue anxiety. When Sullivan's investigators attempted to serve Melissa with a deposition subpoena at her workplace, Wyatt was already there, having anticipated the move based on pattern analysis. My client declines your invitation, Melissa's attorney stated firmly, while Wyatt observed. Any information required can be requested through appropriate judicial channels. Similarly, when media outlets received anonymous evidence packets alleging misconduct in the Hargrove investigation, Wyatt's team had preemptively briefed editors on the manipulation attempt. The chess match escalated when Sullivan filed emergency motions requesting Liam's school records, claiming they contained exculpatory evidence. Judge Rhodes saw through the transparent attempt. This court will not permit a minor child to become collateral damage in your client's appellate strategy, Mr. Sullivan, she ruled firmly. Motion denied. 2 weeks into Hargrove's offensive, Wyatt received a secure call from an unexpected source. FBI Director Thomas Marshall. Lieutenant Colonel, we've identified connections between Sullivan's investigators and known Russian intelligence operatives. Hargrove's defense strategy has national security implications. Hargrove had government contracts, access to classified deployments. Foreign intelligence would value such connections. Precisely. We're upgrading your family's protection immediately. And Colonel, this is now an FBI counterintelligence matter. That evening, Wyatt briefed his parents and Melissa in a secure location. Howard, ever the tactical thinker, immediately grasped implications. They'll increase pressure before backing off. Classic insurgent strategy. Maximum force to prompt overreaction or concession. We need to remove their leverage, Patricia suggested. If Liam's their pressure point, change the equation. Melissa, who had been quietly processing, spoke up. What if we remove Liam from the equation entirely? Temporarily? All eyes turned to her. My sister's family in London. Diplomatic compound with security. Liam could stay with them until the appeal hearing concludes. International travel creates different vulnerabilities, Wyatt noted. Not with diplomatic escort, Howard countered. I still have connections at State Department. Could arrange classified movement protocols. The plan crystallized rapidly. A strategic withdrawal rather than reactive defense. Within 48 hours, with extraordinary coordination between JAG Corps, FBI, and State Department, Liam was quietly transported to the American diplomatic compound in London, accompanied by Patricia, who would remain with him during the school term. Sullivan's team, discovering their primary leverage point removed from play, intensified pressure on secondary targets. Melissa's therapy records were mysteriously leaked. Wyatt's military conduct reviews became subjects of anonymous ethics complaints. Webb received threatening messages warning against continued reporting. Rather than fragmenting under pressure, their improvised alliance strengthened. Wyatt provided security for Melissa when surveillance identified credible threats. Melissa's architectural expertise identified vulnerabilities in Wyatt's apartment that were promptly addressed. Webb published meticulously documented exposés on Sullivan's firm's connections to foreign intelligence assets. 3 weeks before Hargrove's appeal hearing, the counteroffensive culminated when FBI and military intelligence executed simultaneous raids on Sullivan's offices and 3 associated locations, discovering direct evidence of illegal surveillance, witness tampering, and foreign intelligence contacts. Preston Sullivan and 4 associates were arrested. Hargrove's appeal, suddenly without legal representation, faced indefinite delay. Director Marshall personally called Wyatt with confirmation. Threat neutralized, Colonel. Your family's security status downgraded to routine monitoring. That evening, Wyatt video called Liam in London, where the boy had thrived despite the circumstances, excelling in school, enjoying cultural experiences, building resilience through adversity. Dad, guess what? Grandma took me to the Churchill War Rooms. It's where they planned all the secret World War II stuff. The guy said it was just like your operations. Sounds amazing, buddy. When can I come home? I miss you and Mom. Soon. Very soon. After Liam signed off to finish homework, Patricia remained on the call. He's doing remarkably well, considering everything. He's resilient, adapts to changing conditions. Like his father, she studied him through the screen. And his mother, surprisingly. She calls daily, sends care packages weekly. She's different. People change when properly motivated. Some do, Patricia agreed. Some merely pretend until the pressure eases. You still don't trust her. I trust her love for Liam. I reserve judgment on the rest. 2 days later, Wyatt and Melissa met with family court judge Elaine Winters for a scheduled custody review. These are extraordinary circumstances, Judge Winters noted, reviewing reports. Co-parenting during active security threats shows considerable maturity from both parties. Liam's well-being has remained our priority, Your Honor, Melissa affirmed. Indeed, the court-appointed evaluator notes significant positive co-parenting development during this crisis period. Recommendations support continued joint custody with reduced supervision requirements. Outside the courthouse, awkward silence hung between them until Melissa spoke. Thank you for not using Hargrove's threats to petition for full custody. Your lawyer could have argued I attracted this danger. Weaponizing Liam's security isn't protection, it's exploitation. I've seen enough of that. She studied him in the afternoon light. You've changed too, you know. The Wyatt I married would have seized tactical advantage without hesitation. The Wyatt you married never faced losing his son. Fair assessment. She paused. Webb's article mentioned you're being considered for the Pentagon's Family Resilience Task Force. Preliminary discussions. They'd be fortunate to have you. Sincerity colored her voice. No one understands the intersection of military duty and family vulnerability better. The conversation marked subtle evolution in their relationship, from antagonists to functional co-parents to something approaching mutual respect. Not friendship, certainly not reconciliation, but recognition of shared purpose transcending past betrayals. 3 days later, Howard accompanied Liam and Patricia home from London. The family gathered at Wyatt's parents' home for a celebration dinner, a tableau unimaginable months earlier. While Liam excitedly shared London adventures, Wyatt observed the adults' interactions. Howard and Melissa discussing veterans' housing designs. Patricia offering measured advice about Liam's educational options. His team members, Diana, Luis, Sophia, Ben, who had become extended family through shared purpose. Noah arrived late with news. Sullivan's cooperating with federal investigators. Hargrove's appeal is effectively dead. The threat assessment has been downgraded completely. Collective relief rippled through the gathering. The crisis that had forced their collaboration had passed, yet something valuable remained. A functional support system for Liam, a network of protection and purpose. Later that evening, as guests departed, Melissa approached Wyatt on the porch. What happens now? With us, I mean. Do we return to minimal communication and parallel parenting? The question deserved serious consideration. Their forced alliance had proven more effective for Liam than their previous detached arrangement. I propose we maintain operational coordination, Wyatt offered. Regular strategy sessions for Liam's development. Unified response protocols for educational and social challenges. Melissa smiled slightly at his military terminology. Co-parenting as joint tactical operation? Essentially, I accept those terms, Lieutenant Colonel. She extended her hand formally, then added more softly. For what it's worth, I'm genuinely sorry for everything that led us here. But I'm not sorry for where we've arrived. Liam has a father who would move heaven and earth to protect him. That's worth everything. As she departed, Wyatt reflected on resilience, not as absence of damage, but as capacity to grow stronger at broken places. His family had been fractured, but not destroyed. His career had faced jeopardy, but emerged focused on meaningful purpose. His son had experienced trauma, but developed extraordinary adaptability. Inside, Liam examined his father's newest medal, the Distinguished Service Cross awarded for the counterintelligence operation that dismantled Sullivan's foreign connections. "Dad, is it true you saved other military families from what happened to us? Many people worked together for that. But yes, that was the mission. And now you help families before bad things happen." "That's right. Prevention instead of response." Liam nodded, wisdom beyond his years evident. "Like armor instead of bandages." "Exactly like that. I think I want to do that too someday. Help protect people before they get hurt." The simple statement encapsulated everything. Resilience transmuting damage into purpose, pain into protection, vulnerability into strength. "That's the best mission of all," Wyatt affirmed, embracing his son. Building resilience for others. Later that night, reviewing security protocols out of ingrained habit, Wyatt paused at a text from Charlotte Webb. "Family Resilience Task Force announcement tomorrow. Sources confirm you'll be named director. Congressional support unanimous. Congratulations, Colonel. Justice and mercy in perfect balance." He smiled slightly at the phrase. Justice and mercy. The equation he'd struggled to balance throughout the ordeal. The tactical brilliance of Operation Homefront had delivered justice. The harder work of reconstruction had taught mercy. Together, they had forged resilience for his family, for military families nationwide, for himself. As the house quieted, Wyatt found Howard on the back porch, contemplating stars. "You did good, son," the old warrior offered simply. "Different battlefield than mine, but you held the line." "We held it together," Wyatt corrected. "All of us." Howard nodded, understanding perfectly. That's how lasting victories are won. Not by lone heroes, but by resilient units. The wisdom resonated as Wyatt checked on Liam one final time, finding his son peaceful in sleep, secure, protected, resilient. Not unscathed by life's battles, but stronger for having survived them. Not defined by his parents' failures, but empowered by their determination to rise above them. In that moment, watching his son breathe evenly, Wyatt recognized the most important victory, not against Hargrove or Palmer or external threats, but against the bitterness that could have poisoned them all. Resilience had won, and would continue winning, day by day, choice by choice, battle by battle. Chapter 9, Resolution. 18 months after Operation Homefront concluded, Lieutenant Colonel Wyatt Delaney stood at the lectern in the Pentagon's Memorial Auditorium, addressing the inaugural conference of the Military Family Resilience Initiative. "The greatest vulnerability in our defense infrastructure isn't technological or tactical," he began, surveying the audience of military personnel, family advocates, legal experts, and policymakers. "It's the exploitation of those who maintain our home front while service members deploy. When we fail to protect military families, we compromise national security itself." Among the attendees, Wyatt noted familiar faces, his team members, now heading specialized units within the initiative. Noah, representing law enforcement coordination, and unexpectedly, Melissa, seated beside Charlotte Webb in the media section. The Hargrove conspiracy targeted over 200 military families across a decade, he continued. But its methods exploited vulnerabilities that remain within our systems today. This initiative addresses those systematically, through legal reforms, support services, and intelligence protocols that protect the protectors. After his presentation, during the networking reception, Wyatt navigated congratulations and policy discussions with practiced ease. His work had gained significant traction. 3 congressional committees had advanced protective legislation. Judges nationwide received specialized training on military family cases, and support services had expanded dramatically. Charlotte approached, digital recorder discreetly present. "Lieutenant Colonel, care to comment on today's announcement that Victor Hargrove's final appeal was rejected by the Supreme Court? Justice prevailed." But the systems that enabled his operation required more than individual prosecutions. That's why today's conference matters. And personally, closure, Wyatt considered carefully. Not closure, evolution, moving from reaction to prevention. She nodded, understanding before indicating Melissa across the room. Your ex-wife's architectural firm received the contract for the Family Resilience Centers. Connected to her testimony supporting the initiative, connected to her expertise designing environments for healing and security, he corrected firmly. The selection committee was independent. Later, as the reception concluded, Melissa approached directly. Congratulations. The initiative is already changing lives. Thank you. I heard about your firm's selection for the centers. Well-deserved. The healing spaces concept resonated with the committee. Environments designed specifically for rebuilding family connections during reintegration. She paused. We're incorporating elements from successful cases, including ours. Ours. How we reconstructed co-parenting from complete destruction. The protocols we developed during the security threats. They become design principles. The observation surprised him. Their journey from betrayal to functional partnership had been necessary for Liam, but hardly seemed exemplary. We had extraordinary circumstances, he noted. Everyone does, in their own way. Her expression turned reflective. The difference is infrastructure supporting recovery rather than enabling exploitation. Before he could respond, Howard and Patricia arrived with Liam, who had attended the conference's youth leadership program. Dad, we designed security systems for military kids. Mine won first place. Liam proudly displayed his certificate. I used concepts from your protocols, but adapted them for children to implement themselves. Pride swelled seeing his son's passionate engagement. Not damaged by past trauma, but motivated by it. That's fantastic, buddy. Future security analyst in training. Actually, Liam corrected seriously. I want to be like both of you. Design safe places like Mom and protect people like you. The simple statement bridged their divided worlds, uniting purpose across differences. Melissa's eyes met Wyatt's briefly, acknowledging the unexpected gift emerging from their painful journey. Later that evening, the family celebrated at Howard and Patricia's home, now a regular gathering place where various custody arrangements faded into extended family connections. Noah and Sandy brought their children. Team members stopped by with updates and congratulations. Webb arrived with her military father, whose own experiences had inspired her reporting on family resilience. Amid conversations, Noah pulled Wyatt aside. You've heard about Sullivan? Preston Sullivan, Hardro's attorney arrested for witness tampering and foreign intelligence contacts, had been scheduled for sentencing that week. Not yet. 20 years federal. No parole. The foreign intelligence connections upgraded everything. Justice served. And more coming. His cooperation led to 3 more arrests in the intelligence community. The network was deeper than anyone realized. Across the room, Liam enthusiastically explained his security system design to Diana, who listened with genuine interest. Melissa contributed architectural perspectives while Howard offered tactical refinements. Their collaborative engagement, professional skills united for Liam's development, epitomized the evolution from fractured family to functional support network. Patricia joined Wyatt, following his gaze. Not what you expected 2 years ago. Not remotely. When you discovered her betrayal, did you ever imagine this outcome? Truthfully, no. His tactical mind had envisioned victory through destruction, exposing conspiracy, ensuring justice, protecting his son through decisive legal victory. The messy, imperfect rebuilding of relationships hadn't featured in strategic planning. I was focused on winning, he admitted, not on what came after. Most warriors are. Patricia's wisdom carried lifetime perspective. The real test isn't winning the battle, but rebuilding afterward. The following morning, Wyatt met with General Thornton regarding the initiative's next phase. Congressional funding secured for 5 years, Thornton confirmed. Your team structure approved. Interagency coordination protocols established. And the international component, NATO Military Family Coordination Office approved. You'll lead implementation. Congratulations, Colonel. The promotion, his second since Operation Homefront, reflected not just career advancement, but mission expansion. What began as personal counterattack had evolved into national policy, now extending to international alliance. Thank you, General. Not just professional recognition, Thornton noted, studying him. Acknowledgement that personal experience uniquely qualifies you. You've lived the vulnerability and the recovery. That perspective matters. That afternoon, during custody transition, Wyatt and Melissa met at Liam's school to attend his academic awards ceremony together. Their co-parenting had evolved into smooth coordination, shared calendars, consistent expectations, mutual support rather than competition. Dad, Mom, I got Distinguished Achievement in Science and Citizenship Award. Liam raced toward them afterward, certificates clutched proudly. That's amazing. Melissa embraced him warmly. We're incredibly proud, Wyatt affirmed, noting how Liam's smile encompassed both parents equally, secure in their unified support despite separate households. Walking to their respective cars afterward, Melissa mentioned casually, Howard suggested a family dinner Sunday. Apparently, he wants to discuss Liam's summer plans. Are you free? I'll be there. She hesitated slightly. Your parents have been extraordinarily generous, considering everything. They prioritize Liam's well-being above past grievances. It's more than that. Her expression turned reflective. They've modeled forgiveness neither of us initially managed. Howard especially, from categorical rejection to genuine collaboration on veterans' housing. The observation carried truth. Howard, who had once labeled Melissa enemy combatant, now worked alongside her professionally, their shared commitment to veterans' needs transcending personal history. Military training, Wyatt suggested, adapt to changing battlefield conditions. Or perhaps, she offered quietly, recognizing that people can genuinely change. That redemption is possible. The comment lingered as they parted. Not reconciliation, but acknowledgement of growth beyond initial destruction. Sunday dinner at the Delaney home had become regular tradition, extended family gathering that maintained connections across separate households. Howard presided at the head of the table with Patricia, while Liam excitedly shared school achievements. Team members often joined, creating community rather than divided loyalties. About summer plans, Howard announced as dinner concluded. The Veterans Retreat Center in Colorado is hosting a family program. 3 weeks in the mountains, outdoor activities for Liam, professional development opportunities for both of you. The invitation presented logical challenges. 3 weeks of proximity when their carefully constructed co-parenting relied on scheduled separation. The architecture firm handling the facility renovation requested your involvement, Howard explained to Melissa. And the center's security protocols need updating, he added to Wyatt. Separate professional responsibilities, shared location, Patricia clarified, reading their hesitation. Liam would benefit from consecutive time with both parents rather than transitions. Liam's enthusiasm clinched consideration. Please? Grandpa says there's fishing and hiking, and I can learn survival skills. After Liam retired to video games with visiting cousins, the adults discussed logistics more frankly. Separate accommodations, Melissa specified immediately. Professional boundaries. Completely, Wyatt agreed. This is about Liam's experience, not relationship reconfiguration. Howard's expression suggested hidden amusement at their careful clarifications. The Colorado program proved transformative, though not as anyone anticipated. Professional responsibilities occupied separate domains. Melissa redesigning community spaces while Wyatt updated security systems. Parenting responsibilities remained carefully coordinated through digital calendars and handoff protocols. Yet mountain environments fostered unexpected perspective. During a family hike to Alpine Lake, when Liam raced ahead with other program children, Melissa and Wyatt found themselves alone on a scenic overlook. He's thriving, she noted, watching their son fearlessly navigate rocky terrain. Despite everything. Because of everything, perhaps. Wyatt considered the resilience Liam had developed through adversity. He's learned adaptation, security awareness, emotional intelligence beyond his years. Not the childhood we planned. No, but not the disaster it could have been either. The observation hung between them. Acknowledgement of how much worse their fracture might have become without eventual cooperation. How many military families they'd seen destroyed by similar circumstances, without infrastructure supporting recovery. I've been meaning to tell you, Melissa said carefully. I've been offered a position with the Veterans Administration's National Housing Initiative, Director of Adaptive Design. Impressive. You've built substantial expertise. It would mean remaining in Virginia near Liam's school, maintaining our current arrangements. She hesitated. I wanted to confirm that works for you before accepting. Of course. Stability benefits everyone. The conversation marked subtle but significant evolution, professional courtesy, co-parenting coordination, mutual consideration rather than conflict or competition. During their final week in Colorado, unexpected crisis triggered further transformation. While Liam participated in a supervised rafting expedition, flash flooding threatened the children's group. Emergency protocols activated immediately. Wyatt joining the rescue team, while Melissa coordinated communications and family support. Hours of controlled panic followed as rescue operations located children and guides on high ground, establishing extraction routes through rising waters. Liam and his group remained safely positioned but unreachable until weather conditions improved. In the command center, Melissa maintained remarkable composure, utilizing architectural knowledge of terrain to suggest extraction paths, supporting other parents with calm efficiency, working seamlessly alongside Wyatt in crisis response. When rescue teams finally returned with all children safe, the professional barriers between them momentarily dissolved as they jointly embraced Liam, united in relief, gratitude, shared purpose. You were amazing, Wyatt acknowledged later. The terrain analysis, parent coordination, emergency protocols, military spouse training, she replied with slight smile. Crisis response becomes instinctive. The observation carried new meaning. Recognition that their shared history contained valuable elements alongside the damage. 15 years together had created operational synchronicity evident during emergency. Not foundation for reconciliation, but appreciation for capabilities formed during better times. Returning to Virginia, their co-parenting evolved subtly. Family dinners expanded beyond custody transitions to include regular gatherings with Howard and Patricia. Professional collaboration increased as Melissa's veterans' housing expertise complemented Wyatt's family protection initiatives. Gradually, the artificial separation gave way to functional integration, distinct households, but coordinated family ecosystem. 6 months later, at Liam's middle school graduation, teachers commented on his exceptional adjustment and achievement despite challenging family circumstances. Actually, Liam corrected proudly, I have the best family. Most kids with divorced parents have 2 separate houses. I have a whole team. The statement perfectly encapsulated their evolution, from nuclear family to expanded support network. Howard and Patricia providing wisdom and stability. Team members offering diverse skills and perspectives. Webb documenting policy impacts while becoming friend rather than adversary. Noah and Sandy providing extended family connections. At the celebration dinner afterward, Wyatt found moment alone with Melissa on the restaurant terrace. Remember that text on your iPad? The one that started everything? He asked, surprising himself with the reference to long-buried pain. She stilled, clearly remembering. I think about it sometimes. How one message destroyed everything we built. Not destroyed. Wyatt corrected, surprising himself. Transformed. If Palmer hadn't sent that text, if I hadn't seen it, the conspiracy would have continued. Hundreds more military families would have been exploited. Liam might have grown up in a household built on deception rather than difficult truth. You're finding silver linings in betrayal? Her voice held no bitterness, only genuine curiosity. Not silver linings. Tactical reassessment. He gazed toward their son, animatedly describing his future plans to Howard. The battlefield changed. We adapted. Liam's thriving. Military families are better protected. The mission succeeded, just not as originally conceived. Military to the end, she noted with a small smile, reframing personal devastation as successful mission parameters. It's how I process. I know. Her expression turned serious. For what it's worth, I'm not glad for the pain I caused, but grateful for where we've arrived. Liam has something many children of divorce never get. Parents who learn to be better separately than they were together. The observation carried unexpected truth. Their marriage had collapsed under deployment strains, ambition, and external manipulation. Yet their co-parenting had been forged through crisis, strengthened through challenge, evolved into something more functional than their final years together had been. We make a good team, Wyatt acknowledged. Just not the team we originally planned. From across the room, Liam caught their private conversation and approached, adolescent concern evident. Everything okay? Everything's good, buddy, Wyatt assured him. Really good, Melissa confirmed. Just talking about how proud we are of you. Liam studied them with perceptive eyes that had witnessed both destruction and reconstruction. You guys don't fight anymore. Not even the silent way you used to before the divorce. The simple observation carried profound insight, recognizing that their marriage had deteriorated long before its official dissolution, that their current relationship actually represented improvement. We learned better ways to work together, Wyatt explained. Because of the bad guys? Liam asked with childhood directness. Melissa and Wyatt exchanged glances. Their son's framing wasn't entirely wrong. External threats had forced cooperation where emotional wounds might have prevented it. Partly, Melissa acknowledged. Sometimes it takes a serious challenge to show people what really matters. Like when the rafting trip flooded, Liam nodded sagely. Everyone forgot about being mad at each other because staying safe was more important. Exactly like that, Wyatt confirmed, impressed by his son's insight. 2 months later, Wyatt stood before a Joint Chiefs briefing, presenting the Military Family Protection Act's first-year impact assessment. Implementation across all service branches has yielded measurable results, he reported. Targeted exploitation of deployed personnel's families has decreased 64%. Legal outcomes in military divorce proceedings now align with civilian statistical norms rather than showing systematic bias. Most significantly, children's welfare metrics show improved stability despite parental deployment. Admiral Catherine Hayes studied the data. Impressive outcomes, Colonel. Recommendations for Phase 2. Expansion to international alliance frameworks. NATO has approved pilot implementation. We've identified similar vulnerabilities across allied forces. After the briefing, General Thornton approached. The Secretary of Defense has requested you personally brief the President on this initiative next month. It's becoming a cornerstone of military family policy. An honor, sir. Well-deserved. From personal crisis to national policy. Remarkable trajectory. The evolution wasn't lost on Wyatt. What began as tactical counterattack against betrayal had transformed into structural reform protecting thousands. Personal pain had catalyzed systemic healing. That weekend, during his custody time, Wyatt took Liam fishing at the same lake where Operation Homefront had begun, where he'd first conducted surveillance on Palmer's boat nearly 3 years earlier. Dad, Liam asked as they cast lines into dawn-lit water. Do you ever wish you and Mom had stayed together? The question deserved honest answer. Sometimes I miss what we had in the beginning, Wyatt acknowledged. But I don't wish we'd stayed in what we became. Does that make sense? Liam considered thoughtfully. Like when you outgrow your favorite shoes. You remember them being great, but they wouldn't fit anymore. Exactly like that. Very insightful. Ms. Ramirez says insight comes from processing difficult experiences rather than avoiding them. He referenced his therapist with casual acceptance. She says our family demonstrates healthy adaptation to changing circumstances. Wyatt smiled at the therapeutic terminology coming from his son's mouth. High praise from a professional. She also says it's okay to be sad sometimes about what changed, even while being okay with how things are now. She's right about that too. I was sad for a long time, Liam admitted. Not because you weren't together, but because it felt like everything was broken. Now it doesn't feel broken anymore, just different. The observation perfectly captured their journey, from shattered family to reconstructed support system. Different foundation, different architecture, but solid structure nonetheless. The following week brought Wyatt's formal promotion ceremony, full colonel rank reflecting his expanded responsibilities, leading international implementation of the family protection protocols. Howard proudly pinned the eagles on his son's shoulders while Patricia, Liam, and unexpectedly, Melissa watched from front row seats. The colonel's unexpected journey from battlefield to home front security represents the adaptability essential to modern military effectiveness, General Thornton noted in his address. His recognition that family stability directly impacts operational readiness has revolutionized our approach to deployment support. Afterward, during the reception, Charlotte Webb approached with her latest article draft, From Personal Crisis to International Policy, the Delaney Doctrine Reshaping Military Family Support. Your review before publication, she offered. Though I should warn you, it's overwhelmingly positive. Hardly objective journalism, Wyatt noted with slight smile. I prefer the term thoroughly researched. 64 military families interviewed about program impact. Plus this. She handed him a letter from a Marine captain recently returned from deployment. His family was targeted by a Palmer Morrison copycat operation. Your protocols identified the pattern before significant damage occurred. The letter detailed gratitude for intervention that had preserved family, finances, and career, tangible evidence that systems built from personal pain now shielded others from similar experience. As the reception concluded, Melissa approached with unexpected news. I've been asked to testify before Congress about architectural design supporting military family resilience. Apparently, my unique perspective as both former military spouse and current VA design director offers valuable insight. Well-deserved recognition, Wyatt acknowledged genuinely. Your veterans' housing innovations have changed thousands of lives, including my own, she added quietly. I never expected to find purpose through making amends, but here we are. The observation carried profound truth. Her path from entitled architect through a fair participant to dedicated veterans advocate represented genuine transformation, not erasing past actions, but building constructive future from their aftermath. 6 months later, as Liam prepared to begin high school, the extended Delaney Family Support Network gathered for summer barbecue at Howard and Patricia's home. Noah and Sandy brought their children. Team members arrived with updates on international protocol implementation. Webb attended with her military father, whose recovery journey had inspired her continued reporting. Watching Liam coordinate younger children's activities with natural leadership, Wyatt felt unexpected contentment. Not the life he'd planned. The traditional military family with unbroken lineage he'd envisioned passing to his son, but perhaps something more resilient. Liam had witnessed betrayal, but also redemption. Had experienced family fracture, but also reconstruction. Had learned that systems fail, but can be reformed. Had seen that people make devastating mistakes, but can rebuild with sufficient courage and support. He's going to be extraordinary, Patricia noted, joining Wyatt's observation. Not despite what happened, but because of how everyone responded to it. The Delaney resilience, Howard added proudly. 4 generations and counting. Across the yard, Melissa worked alongside Diana preparing food, their former adversarial positions transformed into functional collaboration. The team that had once assembled for battlefield operations now gathered for family celebration. Mission evolved, but core values intact. As evening approached, Liam gathered everyone for announcement. I got accepted to the Naval Academy's Summer Leadership Program, he revealed excitedly. First step toward application next year. Mixed emotions crossed Wyatt's face. Pride in his son's achievement, concern about military path given their family history. You're worried, Melissa noted privately as congratulations flowed around them. 4th-generation service carries expectations, Wyatt acknowledged. I want him to choose freely, not from obligation. He is choosing freely, she countered, but with full awareness of both rewards and costs. He's seen everything: deployment strains, family challenges, institutional failures, and how dedicated people can reform broken systems. The perspective carried wisdom. Liam wasn't entering service with naive idealism, but clear-eyed understanding. Having witnessed both military dedication and institutional vulnerability, both family breakdown and reconstructed support. Later that evening, as celebration continued, Wyatt stepped away briefly to take call from General Thornton. Presidential briefing confirmed for Thursday, Colonel. Expanded funding approved for international implementation. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. The team deserves full credit. The president specifically requested your personal experience narrative. How this evolved from family crisis to international policy. Your journey matters to the implementation. After the call, Wyatt rejoined family gathering, where Howard had begun traditional storytelling, tales of Delaney men serving across generations, from World War II to modern conflicts. And now, Howard concluded, nodding toward Wyatt the newest chapter. Not battlefield heroics, but home front protection. Perhaps the most important mission yet. As nights settled over their expanded family circle, Wyatt reflected on resolution. Not perfect restoration of what was lost, but creation of something different yet valuable from its remains. Not victory through destruction, but triumph through reconstruction. The conspiracy that targeted military families had been neutralized. The vulnerabilities it exploited were being systematically addressed. The personal damage inflicted had catalyzed healing systems benefiting thousands. Most importantly, watching Liam surrounded by supportive adults who had navigated crisis with integrity, Wyatt recognized the most significant victory. His son was growing into someone who understood that resilience wasn't absence of damage, but capacity to rebuild afterward. Who had witnessed adults transforming betrayal into betterment, crisis into construction, reaction into reform. Dad, Liam approached as gathering began dispersing. Thanks for everything. Not just the naval program recommendation, for showing me how to handle really hard stuff without losing yourself. The simple statement encapsulated resolution more perfectly than any strategic assessment could articulate. Through the crucible of betrayal, conspiracy, and near destruction, essential values had not only survived but strengthened. Integrity, duty, resilience, and most importantly, capacity to balance justice with mercy. Not the ending Wyatt had envisioned when discovering that fateful text years earlier. Not the destruction he had initially contemplated in raw pain of betrayal. Something more complex, more nuanced, more ultimately constructive had emerged from tactical response to strategic reconstruction. As stars appeared above the Virginia evening, Wyatt recognized that the mission, while transformed beyond original conception, had ultimately succeeded. Family protected, future secured, purpose affirmed, resolution achieved. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.